Okay, Ling 201. For the last set of morphology practice exercises, I'm going to come to you from my garage. Go figure what's going on. Anyways, we're going to do some Turkish and we're going to do some Czech inside the garage. Let me brighten up my screen a little bit so I can see. So Turkish, it's an Altaic language. It's the official language of Turkey and it's spoken by about 50 million people worldwide, including a lot of people in Turkey and Canada too. So how does it work? There's a lot of interesting features about Turkish. We're just going to focus on the basics of the morphology here because it has pretty nicely perceivable pattern. What are the Turkish morphemes which correspond to the following English translations? And then we got to figure out what the order of the morphemes are and so on and so forth. So I've broken these down by different nouns here on the left-hand column, and then there's a couple of different prepositions and other forms like possessive pronouns, so on and so forth. So when we get to this second question, we're going to characterize our answer in terms of those basic categories, those basic grammatical categories. All right, so one thing about Turkish is that, like a lot of languages, it doesn't really have an indefinite article like we do in English, like an N. So ocean, it turns out, is just going to be deniz. Oops, let me get rid of the caps lock. It's like I'm screaming on the internet or something. So an ocean is just deniz, and if you want to say to an ocean, that's denize. So we'll put a there. That's all we're getting for two. And you might notice as we go through this, of an ocean, denizin. Of is over here. I probably should put these in the same categories. But yeah, so focus. So in is just of. The prepositions are going after the noun in this case, right? We see the same thing for eve is to a house. So we had to an ocean is denize. So the a part is the to part. That means the ev is the house. And the a is just consistent there. So now that we know that ev is a house, then evden means from a house. So we can fill in that blank. Evjikden, what are we changing between from a house and that? The jik is the only part that's new here in Turkish. And the only part that's new in English is the little part, so we can surmise that jik means little until we get any sort of counter evidence for that proposal. So that means deniz is a house, jik is little, and de, whoops, don't do that, de is in, so we can guess that in is de in that particular case. This is just all kind of unraveling like a puzzle, right? So if de is in, then el must mean hand, so we've got our third noun there. This is why it's kind of fun to work with Turkish, one of many reasons. If el is hand, then im must mean I in number 9 over here. And lur must mean the plural. We haven't really seen multiple sort of confirmations of these, but we'll get there eventually. Dişler is teeth, so that means that dish by itself is tooth. And the lur is the plural part of that. So in English, we have internal change to mark the plural for tooth to teeth. In Turkish, it's a regular, or it seems like it's regular as far as we know. At least it's doing the same thing here as we get in other forms like denizler, or oceans. In is de in this particular case. We've seen that before. And the emes is the only new part here, so that's in our oceans. The emes is going to be the R part of this, like that. And all of a sudden, we're done. We can double check to see if this matches up with other forms that we haven't looked at. So dişimizin is of our tooth. So the R part is emes, and the in is the of, and then dish is tooth. And if we want to make that plural, we just add the little plural morpheme there, of our teeth. These are kind of funny things to say, but it all checks out, right? This is what the morpheme structure should look like. So we already talked about this a little bit at the very beginning, but it seems like the noun is always coming first here in every single form. What comes after that, you kind of have to pick it apart with some of these more complicated forms. So Indonesiskde and evjiklerimizde, we're getting this adjective here right after the noun. Just want to make sure I'm not screwing anything up like I did in the previous lecture, so I'll get my little guide there before I misspeak. Then after that we get the plural, letter, This is imiz, so that's a possessive pronoun. We have two different possessive pronouns here, our and my. And they come after the noun, and I think this is the only one we get to sort of look at in terms of where it fits in with respect to the plural and the prepositions which come after. So these last two let you know that you get a possessive pronoun there. So that's our or my, that sort of thing. And at the very end, you get prepositions like that. And I think that should be relatively straightforward and consistent throughout. How would you say of our little hands in Turkish? So let's try to follow the order we just figured out and also the various morphemes. For hand, we've got el. And then right after that, we need the adjective jik. And then the plural is ler. And then possessive pronoun is imiz. And then the last is in, like that. Jikler imizin. I hope I said that okay. Don't speak any Turkish, but you probably either do or know somebody who does. But I think that's going to be close enough for this exercise. It should look like that. And then what's the translation of dish jikler den? So dish, the first part of that, the noun part, is tooth. So if we just write it out morpheme by morpheme, we get tooth. And then the jik is little. And then the ler is the plural. And then the den is from. So we still kind of have to do a little bit of work to translate that into English. These are what the morphemes mean then. So this would be from little teeth, right? Here's your answer. Why you would ever say from little teeth, I don't even know what would come from little teeth. Wise words, I guess, out of the mouths of babes, perhaps. But maybe I'll stop there and just say I hope this all kind of makes sense because it does kind of fit in together like a nice little puzzle, which makes these fun. Okay, last one is going to be check. I'll do that in the next video afterwards. But that's how you get through the Turkish.